I think we're live. Just waiting for confirmation that we're live. We are on screen. My screen setup is looking weird, so I don't know if I'm on. I apologize if I'm on and you're watching and it's... Shout me out in the chat if I'm on. Comments are turned off. That's not good. No chat? Anyone here? Anyone let me know if the chat is working? Yes, Justin. Thank you, Justin. We're on. All right, good news. Who's here? Let me know if you're here. Let me know if you are here. Yes, Justin. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Cole. We're on. All right, good news. Who's here? Let me know if you're here. Holla! What up, Aiden the Milkman? Welcome. Thank you, Cole. Who thinks I should do the updates? Maybe we'll try tonight. Holla! What up, Aiden the Milkman? Kayla E. Kurt White and Zane. What's up, folks? Meher without the hair. May no hair. Addison, what is up? This part must be very boring for people who are watching afterwards. What's up, folks? I'm gonna turn up the volume on my secondary feed. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. Holy warm summer weather. It was beautiful. I took Everly outside like non-stop. It was amazing. Hopefully you noticed my beautiful tan. Had to chop off my hair because it was too much for the beautiful weather. Luckily, I live close to a small beach that nobody knows about. So we went to the beach and we threw rocks and there was like nobody there. It was gorgeous. It wasn't like those beaches or those parks that we saw downtown. I hope none of you were there at those parks. Guys, we don't want more of this. We don't want it. Marcus, what's up? Bonus marks for not asking for bonus marks. Shout out to Marcus. Guys, big things are happening. Things to kind of be aware of. If your parents haven't said anything, tell your parents to go check their emails to kind of be on the lookout. Ms. Douglas will be contacting all the families about the ability to pick up stuff, okay? Your personal belongings, to empty out your locker. Okay, that all is coming, and so make sure you don't miss this opportunity, okay? I know you'll have 100,000 questions. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to tell you, what I'm not allowed to tell you. One thing I can tell you is that you are not allowed in the school, okay? And that is not Ms. Douglas, and that is not Ms. Lewis. That's not the Durham District School Board. That's not Ontario. That is that is, maybe it isn't, but it's the health organization. That is their rule. Okay, children are not allowed inside of our schools. Okay, so they will be contacting you and giving you a chance to sign up for an opportunity to go into the school to pick up your items. You will have one parent who can go in and raid your locker. Ooh, privacy. Okay. Now, some of you just know where your locker is and you don't know where it is, so you can privately message me and remind. Okay, and I can tell you what your locker number is. Okay, we're in the 200s, so you can do that, and we can help your parents to know things like I know a bunch of you are going to want your cells project. Okay, those things aren't going to be able to be picked up right now. Okay, but you know where Michael Jean is, and I'll hold on to them. Okay, I'll store them safely for you. So if you want your science projects at the end of the year, okay, or whenever they allow us to send them home, okay, we can arrange for you to get those projects. Okay, so don't worry about that. Worry about things like your jackets and your boots and things in your locker that might stink. Okay, get rid of those. Okay, those are the kind of things that they're going to be giving you a chance to pick up. Okay, maybe you left some sort of phone charge or something in there. Okay, the idea is to go in there, not touch anything but your own stuff, and then get out. Okay, got it? Let me know if you got it in the chat. Shout out and say, got it, Mr. Stav. I want to make sure that everybody's aware that that is coming down the pipeline. Okay, woo! All right, so with that said, let's talk math. Stream went a little bit longer last Thursday because we tried to have some fun with Kahoot, and it was ultimately a fail. So what I'll do is I'll do the lesson, and then we'll try a Kahoot at the end and see if I can fix that delay issue. If not, then we'll just scrap it and figure out another way to do something. Okay. Thank you, Justin. Got it. Maher said something very confusing. Brooks got it. Thank you, Zane. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Brooke. Justin. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, everybody in the chat playing along at home. All right. Let's talk about part 2. We did histograms on Thursday. Now let's talk about scatter plots. All right. Has everybody been tickling themselves? T-I-C-A-L-S, obviously. All right, scatter plots, friends. Scatter plots, I'm not so worried about can you make a scatter plot, because scatter plots are basically what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, except not on a Cartesian plane. That's not working. There we go. I had to click on the screen. Okay. But my bigger need here is to know that you can read a scatter plot. Okay, and I'm just talking about find where a dot is. So we'll get deeper into that. Okay, so a scatter plot is a summary between two variables. Okay, that's very important. If you're taking notes, which I hope you are, you're writing that down. Okay, scatter plots is comparing two variables. Okay, this is a little bit different than what you're used to, because normally on one axis you're like, okay, here's the topic, and then the other axis tells you how much of that topic. Okay, what we're doing now is we're putting two variables, okay, and then that will be plotted in that sense. Okay, so the second bullet here says it gives a visual picture of the relationship. This is the key. This is what we're worried about scatter plots. Okay, scatter plots is all about the relationship between this factor and this factor. Okay, does this factor have any impact on this factor? Does this factor have any impact on this factor? Okay, so that's what scatter plots is all about. Okay, it's all about this comparison of two relations, or the relationship of two. Write this down, super duper important. If you're not taking notes, start taking notes and write this down. Okay. When interpreting a scatter plot, there are 4 things to consider. Okay, write this down. Direction, form, strength, and any outliers. Okay, you need to know this backwards, forwards. Okay, we're going to drill this into you. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all 4 of these, and we're going to talk about what this means. This is mad important in your ability to understand and interpret a scatter plot. Okay, so direction. This is huge, huge. Okay, we have a positive direction, we have a negative direction, and we have no direction at all. Okay, and think of this exactly the way that you would think of it. Okay, look at my example here. Okay, so this is a positive correlation. So if we were to draw, okay, so a scatter plot is just dots. Okay, so see down here, we have just the dots. This is what a scatter plot is. Okay, so if I was to draw, oh, it's doing it again. That's what happens when you buy used things. Sometimes they don't work. Okay, if I was to draw a trend line through the majority, the average kind of area of these dots, okay, you can see that these dots are trending upwards. There. Okay, they are going upwards. Okay, so we would say that that is a positive correlation. Okay, we'll talk a little bit in greater detail about what this means, but essentially, as remember, we're comparing 2 variables. So as this variable increases, this variable increases. That's a positive correlation. Okay, so both variables are increasing, okay, at the same time. A negative correlation, okay, which means as one variable increases, the other one decreases. Okay, so here you see the example of a negative. So look, if you read this here, as this variable goes higher, okay, this is not increasing. Okay, this variable, okay, is actually going down. Okay, oops, I drew the arrow the wrong way. Okay, so this has a low value on this axis, high here. Here it has a low value on the y-axis and a high value on the x-axis. So they do not have a correlation. Okay? If you're confused, it will make more sense as we get into more examples. Okay? The last one is no correlation. Okay? Correlation means like connection or relationship. Okay? So the first one is there's a positive relationship, there's a negative relationship, or there's no relationship. Okay? Which essentially is a fancy way of saying it's random. Okay? Okay, so dots are just anywhere. They're just sporadic, they're random. Okay? So when you look at a scatter plot without like looking really close at it, you can just be like, oh, okay. That has no correlation. Because dots are just anywhere. They're just everywhere and anywhere. Okay? So you can quickly see, nope, no correlation. Okay? So even if we were to do Kahoot and you had 3 seconds to pick an answer, you'd be like, no correlation. Okay? So a no correlation means there's no clear direction. Okay, so the second factor, remember, we talked about 4 factors. We just talked about direction. Okay, now let's talk about form. Okay, you can get into greater detail at higher levels. We're just going to talk about, is it linear or is it not linear? Okay, so here you can see that they're kind of going up in a line. They're kind of trend in a line shape. Okay, whereas this one, they kind of go up and down, so it's more of a curve. Okay, so again, you don't need to go like real close and anything. You can look at this and you'd be like, that's a line, that's a curve, that is a cloud of random dots. Okay? So nothing crazy. I haven't blown your mind yet. Okay? I don't think much in this lesson will. It's pretty simple. Okay? So we have direction. Is it going up? Is it down? Or is there's no direction? Okay? Form. Is it a line or is it a curve? Okay? So it's literally, I'm going to be asking you to check these things, and you're going to either follow this checkbox, okay? So nothing crazy. Strength, okay? How strong is the correlation? Okay? So, look, this is a really important graphic. Here's a continuum, okay, from none to strong. So if I asked you, and I've asked you tons, right? How well are you doing during distance learning? On a scale of 0 being not good and 10 being amazing, you would put yourself on that continuum, right? So somewhere along that line. So in terms of asking about the strength of a scatter plot, you can look at, are these dots in a pretty straight line or single kind of clump, okay? So the more cloudy they are, means it's not as strong as a relationship. They're not as, you can't really say that it's pretty tight, okay? So this is a strong relationship. Maybe if you draw a trend line over here up moderate, your points would be really kind of close to it. Okay, and then over here on weak, you can still kind of see a tread or a scatter, or sorry, like a trend. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, but it's really kind of weak, whereas compared to this, you can kind of see more of the line. And then the strength would be like a straight line, right? And then none, there would be no relationship there, okay? So I can ask you, what direction is it going? Is it going in a positive relationship? Is it in a negative relationship? Is there no relationship? Okay? Is it a line? Is it or not form? Or how strong? So you say, yes, Mr. Stav, these have a positive relationship. And I say to you, well, how strong is that relationship? You would look at the dots, all the points, and you would say, moderate, kind of low, Mr. Stav. It's not that strong of a relationship. Okay? All right. And the last one is outliers. Okay? So, an outlier, these are stats that kind of what we call skew or ruin the data, okay? So if you look at this, we would say it's a positive correlation, right? As one goes up, the other one goes up, okay? And we would say that this is a strong relationship, but then all of a sudden, probably Dylan would point out that this kind of is a bit cloudy. So could you actually say that this doesn't have a strong relationship because of this makes it look like a cloud? Okay, so in statistics or in managing data, we would say that this is called an outlier. Okay, let's say everybody did the test. Okay, and most people did really well on it, and one person got 0 on the test. Okay, that would be an outlier. Okay, it's not usual to get a 0 on this test. Okay, so this is something that's kind of abnormal, not realistic. And you can get outliers both on the high side and on the low side. So if you had an outlier over here, then you would kind of just consider that an outlier. Now, if you start to get a couple of outliers, that might skew and kind of change your approach to this data. Okay, But at this point, this is the bulk of our data, and it shows a good relationship. Okay. So we would just say, well, we're going to kind of omit this guy and not let him throw off our analysis, okay, or distort our analysis, as it says here. Okay. And the nice thing about when graphing is that this really kind of lets you, like, yeah, that guy is an outlier. He does not belong here. Okay. How do you feel about that? Chat, how do you feel about that? That's kind of like the difficulty that we're going to go with. Okay. You need to be able to identify the direction. Okay, is it going in a positive direction or a negative direction, or any correlation or no correlation? Okay, is it a line or is it nonlinear? Is it a curve? How strong are those dots? Are those data points, we should say? Okay, and are there any outliers? Okay. Now, outliers, one thing I should have said is outliers really kind of impact data, right? So if, let's say, the class average was, let's say 90, okay, on a test, that's a really high class average, okay? But let's say it was 90, okay? Then you'd be like, good, okay? But if there was an outlier, let's say a student or two students got 0, that would pull the average down. Now it depends on the class size and how many students there were, okay? But it could potentially bring your data to an 80. Okay, and you'd be like, oh, 80, that's a little bit more reasonable. Okay, so the nice thing about graphing on Scatterplots is that it can show you these outliers. Okay, so thank you to the people in the chat giving me the thumbs up, giving me the 100. Thank you, Kurt, Brooke. Let's try this. Okay, I would like you in the chat to describe the direction, the form, the strength, and are there any outliers? Okay, so for those of you watching at home, I apologize, I gotta wait like about 20 seconds. It about seems a bit our lag here. Okay, but in the chat, I want you to talk about its direction. Okay, I would like you to talk about its form. I would like you to talk about its strength. And are there any outliers? So for direction, I'm looking for positive or negative or no. I'm looking form, linear or nonlinear. Okay, so you can just use these one-word answers. Okay. For the strength, I'm looking for strong, weak, or medium. And for outliers, just say yes, yes or no outliers. Okay. So while we wait, I'll provide some beautiful music. Just waiting on the chat. Come on, chat. Here we go. Aiden for the win. First person to comment. Remember, chat, just because one person comments doesn't mean I need you to stop. I want everybody to flood the chat with your responses. Oh, here we go. Brooke, yep. Let me just read here. Aha, yes. Love it. So here's what I'm reading in the chat for those of you watching along and don't have that live chat going. I am reading a positive correlation. Okay. Form. I am seeing linear. And for the record, yes, this is way more fun in the classroom. I pull out the scan cards and we have some fun with these. Linear is its form, right? So I can draw a tread line right through, okay, and that is definitely a line, right? If I was saying it was non-linear, it would look like that. So it is definitely not that. Works. Okay. Strength. What are they saying about strength? Oh, I like this. It's kind of strong. I like that. Good, Brooke. Addie's going with the word moderate. Zane's saying medium. Justin, another one for medium. Meher is saying moderate. Yeah, so it's kind of strong. I like kind of strong because it's on the higher, right? If I was to draw a spectrum here, where this is weak and this is strong. If this was medium, I would kind of put it here. So that's why I like what Brooke says. It's kind of strong. I like it. Okay, and if you're trying to figure this out, kind of strong means it's kind of tight to this line. Okay, and are there any outliers? And I'm seeing few and some, and I'm gonna argue with you. I'm gonna say there's no outliers here. Okay, unless maybe Aiden wants to argue that this is an outlier. But this is still pretty in line with the data. Okay, let me change my pointer here to blue. I would say that this would be an outlier. Okay, even like this, I could argue that's an outlier. Okay, so I think that this is still actually pretty relevant to our data set. All right, and so there you go, folks. We're going to try a bunch here, okay? But this is as hard as Scatterplots is going to be this week, okay? Let's try this. Hit me up, chat. And again, just because one person has answered, maybe don't even look at the chat, and you answer just like you guys are doing, and tell me direction, form, strength, and any outliers. I should just use my whiteboard. That would make my life easier. Or you know what I could do? Come over here. Open a sticky. If you're just watching live or later in the chat, I'm waiting for my live people to kind of start answering what they see here. All right, so we got direction, form, strength, and outliers. How's that look on the live feed? All right, I see the chat is populating here. Ooh, we got some difference of opinions here. And that's perfect. That's what we want. We want to be able to have these discussions. So some people are saying positive, and some people are saying no correlation. Oh, this is money. This is gold. Oh, we got to move our sticky so that it's readable. Here we go. Might be a little too big. Okay, so some people are saying no correlation, and some are saying positive. So this is really tough to argue either way. And if we were in the classroom, I would actually ask you to debate, and it would get heated in the classroom, right? People would be yelling at each other and yelling at the board and be like, no, it's positive, no, it's not. So, since you're not there, I will argue with myself. So, my argument that there's no correlation here is that they are everywhere, okay? There are dots all over the place, okay? Now, somebody else, who says positive? Robles is saying positive. Aris is saying positive. Meher changed his answer from positive. Justin said positive. Zane. So we kind of had a 50-50 split here. And if I was arguing with the people who said no correlation, I would say use a trend line. Okay, I could see you in the classroom. No. Use a trend line. Use a trend line. Okay, use a trend line. And so what that would mean is if I was to draw a trend line, what direction would I draw the trend line? Okay. Now, if you see, the majority of the data actually appears to be trending this direction. Okay. Now let me change my pointer here. If I drew that, you guys probably be like, yeah, I can kind of see that. Whereas if I drew a trend line this way in the negative direction, you would notice that none of that data really is following a negative trend line, right? So, Zane, you still can't see the note properly? I think you should be good now. Sorry, chat, or sorry, live viewers, I'm watching the chat. I'm trying to stay. Okay, so you could not argue a negative trend line. Okay, there's no argument here. Although you could argue that this blue trend line kind of encapsulates this data. Okay, so some of you were like, okay, but I would still argue there's no. Now, some people might skip form for a second, and they might come right to strength and say, okay, maybe you could say there's a positive, but how strong is that positive correlation, right? And this is where we come back to that, right? Strong, weak, right? Moderate. It's doing it again. Okay, this is our medium. And we could argue that we are way over here, right? It is very cloudy, okay? And so, with that said, if we were doing a test and Kayla Robles put there was a positive correlation here, I would accept that answer. And if Aris put no correlation, I would accept that answer. Okay? Now, a level 4 response would be to say there is a positive correlation as the data is trending in a positive direction. However, the relationship is a very, very weak relationship. The strength is very weak. Okay? And obviously, I didn't even put that on the spectrum, so I would accept weak as an answer. Does this make sense? Okay, so you're arguing in both directions. Now let me look at your form. It looks like everybody is arguing. Oh, okay, no. So now we have some people who are saying it's linear. Some people are saying it's non-linear. Okay, so now remember, linear is either it's a line or it's a curve. Okay, now also if it's just a cloud of random dots, okay, or data points, okay, could we say that's linear? Not really, right? So some people are, because they're saying there's no relationship, there's no correlation, they're saying that this is non-linear. So for those people that are making this trendline argument, we're going to argue that it is linear. Okay. Maybe someone wanted to make that argument. Okay. So these are things that if we were doing a test in class, I would need you just to kind of justify, right? Explain your answer. And if you could explain that well enough to me, then I can give you those marks. Okay? So I'm going to go with the no. I'm going to go with the argument of a positive correlation. Okay? And I'm going to say that it's linear. Sorry, all caps is on, or caps lock is on. But it's incredibly weak. And what did we say? RS says, can you really? What did we say about outliers? This is kind of hard. Could you really say there are outliers, or could they all be considered outliers, right? And so I'm going to go with yes, outliers. Again, with the caps lock, right? Because I would say that although the majority of the data is here, we got some kind of crazy, like extreme scores. Okay. Now maybe some of you are saying that these aren't actually extreme scores because the data kind of suggests that they're all close all over there. So I would accept that, you know, and maybe you just talked me into, no, there's no outliers because it's all relevant data. Okay, so this is kind of a subjective reading. Where you get your marks is that explanation and helping me to understand why you said it had no correlation versus someone who said there is a correlation, right? Okay, let's look at this one. While you do that, I will check the chat. Okay, get in your answers. Remember, don't look at anyone else's responses. Put in your responses. If you're watching this and you're not live, still take the time and write it down because you see I'm gonna talk you through it. Okay, let me get rid of these answers. That's weird. All right, chat should be lighting up any second now. We're interpreting scatter plots using these 4 criteria: direction, form, strength, and outliers. Just waiting for the chat. Waiting for the chat to answer. We are waiting for the chat to respond. Oh, here we go, RS. First one. And we got May No Hair. And Brooke, here we go. They are flowing in now. Change my color. Blue's not a good color for this. Magenta. Here they come. They're coming. They're coming. All right. Negative correlation. Negative, 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 negative. Seeing a lot of negative. One positive. So if we were to draw our trend line that encapsulates the majority of the data, we are going to see it is going in a downward direction. Okay, so looking here, we've just done a couple of positives, but this is now going negative. Okay, so we're going to say that this is a negative correlation. Okay, form, what are people saying? It is unanimous in the chat. They're saying linear. Strength. Strong. Pretty strong. Moderate strength. Pretty strong. Bit more than medium strong. Strong-ish. I like strong-ish. Okay. go with strong-ish. I gotta decrease the font size to make it fit. Strong-ish. Okay. Aiden, you're good. You're good, brother. Outliers. What are people saying about outliers? A few outliers, one or two outliers. Ooh, look at this. Aiden is saying the top is kind of weak, but the rest is strong. Ooh, I like that. Aiden's saying down here is stronger than up here. Interesting. Ooh, that's next level, Aiden. Okay. So, it looks like people are calling this bad boy an outlier, and maybe some people are considering this an outlier. And yeah, I guess we could say that the majority of the data is like in these boundaries, and these kind of could be outliers. So I think I saw somebody say 1 or 2. That doesn't fit, so let's go 1 or 2. Okay, a few outliers. All right, excellent. Thank you guys for picking this up. Let's do one more. Let me know what you think here. All right, so we're just waiting for the chat to see this. Type in the responses. Again, if you're at home, you should be writing this out, practicing. This is very helpful. Don't just wait for me to say it. If you can kind of think it through and put in your own responses, this will really help you in interpreting this data. I wonder if I could sing a song so well enough that I get copyright flagged. I think I should. Ooh, Aiden, first one in with a response. Pretty quick. All right, here we go. Chat is filling up, so let's look at what they said. I got negative, 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 negative. Looks like it is overwhelmingly negative. Chat, you're always so negative. That was a bad joke. Seeing a lot of linear. Strength. This is the interesting one. Medium, seeing medium, medium, moderate, weak. All right. How about this? I'll meet some of you there. How about a low medium? Okay. Well, let's go back actually to that slide with the actual. So moderate or weak. So let's, oopsies. Let's take a photo here. Put that over here. And let's go back to the slide. And let's talk about this. Okay, so it's definitely not strong. We can't say it's strong, okay, because we do have a strong trend line. So we definitely know that it is going in the negative direction. However, we can say that these are kind of getting away from the line a little bit. So we're getting some cloudiness, okay. So looking at the continuum, I would say it's over here. Oh, some of you are saying moderate, and I think you convinced me. We'll put moderate in there. Okay. Again, this comes down to your ability to just explain your answer, right? So if you're going to say to me moderate, because I don't know, that's not as good of an answer as someone who might say weak because it's pretty cloudy. Okay, and you get some far off results. Okay, so your ability to kind of explain your answer is king and is awesome here. Okay, and what are you guys saying about outliers? Yeah, so you could say there's a couple outliers, or you could make the argument that those outliers are actually in line with the data, and so we can't call them outliers. Again, whatever your ability to explain your thinking and your reasoning here, boom. Okay. So if we were in the class, okay, I would ask you to talk about what are some no, I want my whiteboard for this one. What are some things that have a positive correlation? Okay, so I'll give you a couple, and then chat, I want you to start giving me some. Okay. All right, so if I was to graph, okay, as the number of hours that you study for a unit test, okay, as that goes up, okay, then let's think of something else that would correlate with that. Okay, so we could say your grade. Okay. So here we go. The number of hours, so the more you study, does your grade go up? And so think about this. Let's say if we were to actually break this down, and my marker doesn't work. Très awesome. How about a burgundy? Burgundy. That's really close to that color, though. That's a problem. I want a different color. Let's say you studied 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let's say you studied 4 hours for a test. Would you expect your grade to go up compared to someone who only studied 1 hour? Okay. So let's say this is a 60. So this is 70, 80, 90. Okay. I would expect a correlation of these two factors. Okay. So if somebody studied for 1 hour and got 60%, that would not surprise me at all. Okay. If you studied 4 hours for my science unit test, which means work on your science notes and stuff, and you got a 60%, that would surprise me. Okay. But I would expect that your mark would go up as you study more and as you prepare more, and the more hours you put in, whether it be math, science help, or studying with a group of friends. Okay. Maybe there's 380. Okay. And so then what I would do is I would take data from the class and I'd ask, how long did you study? Okay. And you know that those people who somehow they don't spend a lot of time and they do get a good mark. Okay, that's what we call an outlier. Okay. Okay, so this we say has a positive correlation. Okay, we're comparing two variables. The variables are how long you study and what grade you get. Okay, does that make sense? Kurt, shout out to Kurt for saying marks. So let's think of something that doesn't correlate. No correlation. Okay, you think about that in your home. Okay, and I'll give you this. Let's say we'll stay with Kurt's response of grade. Okay, and let's do this. Shoe size. Okay, so if I went around and I asked the class, all right, Kurt, what size is your shoe? And he said, size 11, MrStav. Right, so he's got a size 11 shoe. And how did you do on the test, Kurt? And he said, amazing, MrStav. Boom. Okay, and then I went over and I asked, I don't know, who's in the chat? Justin. He says, oh, I have a size 9, MrStav. Oh, how'd you do, Mr. Justin? And he said, amazing, MrStav. And I went and I asked Frank. Who's Frank? I don't know who Frank is, but Frank has a small shoe size. Size 2. Is that even possible at your age? I don't know. And you say, Frank, how'd you do? And he said, I sucked, MrStav. And then we would and we'd ask student, and they had a size 10 shoe size. How'd you do? And they said, I sucked, MrStav. And essentially, we could find another student who has a size 9 who did okay. We could find someone who has a size 11 who did okay. And we could ask David, who has a size 500 shoe, and he did pretty good. Okay. And what we would see is that there is no relationship, there's no correlation between the size of your shoe and the grades that you get on my unit test. Okay? There is no relationship between shoe size and grade. Okay? Now, MrStav, I could argue, I hear you, Meher. You could argue anything. All right? And but let's go with Meher's argument. And he could say, MrStav, what if you argued that the whole school took the same test, and so the older students have the bigger shoe size, and so they're going to get better on the test? Then yes, we could argue that that would have a positive correlation, because I really hope that you grade 8s will get better marks than the grade 2s on a grade 8 test, even on a grade 2 test. Okay, so yes, it really depends on the parameters that you're testing. Okay. So, somebody in the chat, give me an example of a negative correlation. Okay, so a negative correlation, these are harder ones to find. So while one increases, the other one decreases. Okay, I have one. See if you can get one. Okay, I'm going to give some think time here. If you're just watching later, I'm waiting for the chat to come up with examples. So either skip ahead or take some time and write down some ideas that you might have for things that will have a negative correlation. Wow. Brooke hitting home. Oh my Lanta. Brooke, I was nowhere near that. That is a great response. You can have all of Marcus's bonus marks. If you're watching and you're wondering what Brooke said, here's what Brooke said. Brooke said, the number of COVID cases and vaccines. So, let's talk through Brooke's answer. So Brooke says, should there be more cases of COVID as more people get the vaccine? So think about it. As the number of people get vaccines, would the number of COVID cases increase? Boom. So we would expect a negative decline. Excellent. Excellent job. Nobody else in the chat? I know it's hard. Okay, how about this one? Where's my eraser? Here it is. I go back to the pink marker because that looks way easier to read on the screen. All right, let's go back to grades. Okay, so back to Kurt's grades. Grades. Kurt always likes to talk about grades. Okay. And let's talk about absence from school. Check this out. Do you think your grades will go higher the more that you're absent from school? So the higher the number of absences you have, you could actually argue that your grades will be lower. Okay, if you miss almost the entire year, and I'm not talking COVID, right, where everybody's missing. I'm talking like everybody's there and you're missing input, you're missing assessment, you're missing all the stuff. Okay? The more absences, if you're missing like 90% of the year, okay, your marks are going to be tanking. Okay? Especially in high school, you will fail. Okay? And if you have perfect attendance, it would be more likely to predict that your marks will be up here. Okay? So let's populate this. MrStav, is it possible to have perfect attendance but not get good grades? Absolutely. Right? You can have perfect attendance but not study. You would consider that person more of an outlier. Okay? Now, I would say that it might look a little bit like this. MrStav, is it possible for someone to miss a lot of school and still do well? Yeah, you could have those outliers. Okay? But I promise you, those people aren't missing school and doing nothing. They're at home, they're studying their tail off. Okay? So those people aren't just fluking their way into those high grades. Okay? But the trend line here would be a negative correlation. Yeah, so Kurt in the chat is saying you could study at home. Yeah, and that's assuming that you have a teacher who's going to provide you at-home resources. So, how about this? How cold is it? The more cold it gets, or the colder it gets, what did I write? Who knows what I wrote? I put $2 signs. That was really bad. Okay. Money spent on air conditioning. Right? The colder it gets, the less money people are spending on air conditioning. Okay? So the warmer, the more people spend on air conditioning. That's a negative. Okay, how about this? Boom. The relationship between work and free time. The more you work, the less free time you have. That makes sense, yeah? Right? The more you work, the less free time you have, and the less you work, the more free time you have. Okay? However, the more you work, the more money you have. There's a positive correlation between work and money, and there's a negative correlation between work and free time. Make sense? Okay, so I think you all get it. These four things, if you can read those, you can interpret a scatter plot, you'll be fine. Okay, not a hard concept. What Miss Oikawa and I did was we saved these concepts that we find less difficult for this end because we were figuring a lot of you would need to be getting caught up on other assignments because our report card writing time is coming up, and so you need to be getting things finished, and you need to be saying, hey, I need you to remark this, okay, or I want to hand this in. Okay, I've been getting a lot of messages in science saying I completed these, you can use these as marks now. Perfect. Okay, so you can interpret this as we're being light, and so you can do nothing, or you can interpret this as awesome, I can catch up and get some other work done to bring my marks up. Okay. On Wednesday, I am going to start I'm going to start a new unit in science. I think you'll enjoy this unit. It'll bring us to the end. I want to read off some other negative direction or negative correlations. Ready? If it's darker outside, more lights are needed. If a car decreases in time or in speed, the amount of time it takes to get somewhere increases. As a tadpole gets older, its tail gets smaller. As more employees are laid off, the satisfaction among remaining employees decreases because if more people are laid off, then people who remain have to do more work. Okay, so bring this to the side. That was just a quick Google search, and I found tons of examples. Okay, if you're in the classroom, I would ask you to find some of your own examples and graph your own. Okay, if you want, you can do that, but I think for your understanding, I think you're getting this. In the chat, let me know who's up for a Kahoot. I can set it up. We'll see if it works. If not, then we'll bail on it. If you're watching afterwards and you're not going to participate in the Kahoot, then awesome. Glad you joined us. Maybe you want to stick around to get some more practice questions in. Okay. So guys, I can set the time limit. Oh, but then you can see the answers. Can't do that. Oh, I got some people in the chat who are up for a Kahoot. Aris is not, so see you later, Aris. Get out of here, son. If you are leaving us, remember to be on the lookout as the school announces and gives you opportunities to pick up your stuff. All right, and here we go. I am ready to go. Okay. So, preview. Done. Here we go. Play. Teach it. And afterwards, what I'll do is I'll try to sign it and make it available. Play. Teach. There we go. Join up, folks. I'm in. Mayor says get ready to lose? I don't know about that, Mayor. Hey, people. I still remember back when we were doing our science and Jojo, aka Jose, froze me. Made me lose. That's all because of you, Jose. I got 10 people. I am going to start the game. Because I believe that's everybody. Ooh, no hair. Almost missed it, but he's in. Guess I'll wait a couple more seconds in case there is that one other person like no hair who is slow to join. Here we go. So what I did was I upped the time to 60 seconds, which means for you, you probably have about 30 seconds to answer. Or I'll just go to the next question once I've seen that all 11 people have responded. Here we go. Are you ready? Pancakes. What type of correlation does this scatter plot show? Is it a positive, a negative, or no correlation? So where would you draw that trend line? See, I'm at 45 seconds, and the question is popping up now. It takes about 20 seconds. That's good. We got 2 answers in. Remember, the speed at which you answer also increases your points. So not only getting the right answer, but the speed that you get the answer in. So I should probably answer. Oh, I'm in 12th place. Yes, that does have a negative correlation. We show the media, the trend is downwards. And everybody, except for 2 people, got that right. Congratulations. You can go full screen here. Oh, that's beautiful. Here we go. Aiden! Oh! No hair is nowhere to be seen on the leaderboard. Aiden with a huge 821 points. And then Face Guy is 812. Brooke in 3rd. Very well done. Let's go. This scatterplot has a positive correlation. What does that mean? Does it mean that there's no connection between sleep and test? Does it mean that people with more sleep have lower scores? Does it mean that the more hours of sleep means you get the higher test score? Or does it mean that people with fewer hours of sleep have higher test scores? So answers are coming in. Calling for classroom perfection. Could it be? Could it be? Oh, we were tight. We were close. Yes. So a positive correlation. Does that make sense? The more hours, more sleep you get, usually, the better you feel, the better your test scores will be. Okay. And we're not just talking pie in the sky. We're using these stats, right? People who got 1 hour of sleep did not do well, and the people who slept a lot got. Now, maybe someone could argue that if someone got 1 hour of sleep, maybe they were up all night studying. Okay, so these are arguments that you can make, and this is why data management is kind of a little tricky, right? And as you get into higher years, you'll really talk and look into these kind of problems. Let's see our leaderboard. No hair is somewhere, but not in top place. Aiden holding strong. Brooke's still up there. Justin, awesome. And Face Guy, way to go. Here we go. Question 3 of 8. What type of association does this scatter plot show? Is it a positive association, which is another way of saying correlation? Is it a negative association, or correlation, or relationship, or is it no association? The answer before all of you. You know, it's really cold in my basement, so the air conditioning. Boom. That's a big 10-1, 10-4. This is a positive, right? As income goes up, goes the percentage. And let's look at our title here. Car ownership in any town by household income. So the more money that people have, the more likely they are to own a car. Okay, that's a positive relationship. Now, if I was marking this, remember, your title needs to have all capitals, so they get a half mark for their title. Okay, I like that they have percent here. Over here, I would like to see the label say car ownership and then percent in brackets. Okay, so you see how this is a little bit confusing by its lack of information. That's what we talked about on Thursday. Mayor goes down. Brooke jumps over Mayor. Let's go, Brooke. Sorry, no hair. All right, Justin, you can jump over Mayor too. Come on, here we go. Question 4. Where is there an outlier in the scatter plot? Ooh. So I'm giving you coordinates here. What is the outlier? Remember, X comes first in the alphabet and then Y. So you need to do the X coordinate, then the Y coordinate. Ooh, this is tough. I mean, there's two there. They're both really... Answers are coming in. What am I going with? Oh, it's a splitsies. It's a splitsies, and it didn't matter because they're giving a correct answer for either. So, when we look... Oh, okay. It's kind of faded. All right. But this is an outlier here at 145 and 80. Okay, and over here is 175 and 40. These are both outliers. Okay, they're not with the normal trend of the data. Excellent job. Who's excited to see the scoreboard? Oh, Mayor's on fire. He got a fireball. And Brooke stays ahead. Huge. It's featuring May No Hair with a high answer streak of 4. Yet, he's still not in the lead. Come on, Aiden. And Mr. Face Guy. What type of correlation does this scatter plot show? Well, that is all over the place. Could you make an argument? What you got? Aiden, you're seriously playing on 2 accounts? When you first had someone. I wondered if you were the face guy, because you usually do the faces. Got him. All of you. We have classroom perfection. I am in 8th place. Not bad. Not bad. I am cheating because I am putting my answers before you guys, so not bad. Oh, Brooke, jumping ahead of Face Guy. He's coming for your lead there. She's just behind you, Aiden. Kayla Robles jumps over Justin. This is a battle. Wow, here we go. Question 6 of 8. Which scatter plot could show the relationship between hours of TV watched and hours of sleep? Is it A, B, C, or D? Which one could show the relationship between how many hours? So the more hours of TV you watch, are you getting more sleep or are you getting less sleep? Are you looking for a positive correlation, a negative correlation, or no correlation at all? Answers are flying in here. Now you gotta be pretty quick because once they all come in, I think once there's a majority of answers, it cuts it off. Ooh, some people said B. The correct answer was C. Okay, so if you think about this, as you watch more TV, you're going to have less sleep, right? If you watch a little bit of TV, you're going to go up. For example, last night, my goal was to put Everly to sleep, watch a bit of TV, and then go and do some work, and I fell asleep. So I got no TV, no work done. So it's a negative correlation, right? The more sleep I get, the less TV I watch. Whoa, we just had a major shakeup. Kayla jumps from 4th, 5th. Oh my Lanta. No one was expecting this. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. That is, yikes. Unreal. I'm hurting for you, Aiden. That was a big drop. 7, question 7. Where do you see a cluster on the scatter plot? Do you see a cluster at 70 years, at around 50 to 60 years, at around 23 to 35 years? There are no clusters, Mr. Stav. So a cluster is like a group of a bunch. Okay, so think about these are data points that are not social distancing, right? They're all clustered together. Booyakasha! The cluster is here, and that is between 25 to 35 years old. Okay, someone might have thought that this was a cluster, but compared to this is more of a cluster. This is a greater cluster. Okay, like if you think about it, this is what you guys look like in the halls as I'm trying to walk by, and if you look like this, then I could probably get by a lot easier. Last question. Oh, no, we have one more. We have one more question. Let's see the leaderboard. Could Aiden get back his lead? Oh, MrStav! Woo! Here I come, folks. Here I come. Wow, what an upset. This is unheard of. Oh, man. Brooke in the chat says, OMG, I messed up again. See, and in Kahoot, there's no forgiveness. If you mess up, you are, ooh, it's going to hurt. Addie, we were at the bottom, and look at us. We're coming up. All right, here we go. I will not answer this question. Why is the outlier on this scatter plot unusual? First, you got to find the outlier. Then you got to figure out why. Is it because they didn't study much and they got a low score? Is it because they didn't study much and they got a high score? Is it because the person's score followed the pattern? Or is it because the person studied a lot and got a low score? Oof. 9 and 1. So let's find the outlier, and the outlier is here, and that's a good amount of studying, an hour and 20 minutes, and they got a kind of a lowish score. They only got, they got under 70, so they didn't get a B. Okay, so we would typically expect, you study a decent amount, you should get a decent amount mark. So this is kind of the average. Ladies and gentlemen, let's find out who the queen or king is. The podium in third place, Addison. In second place, No Hair. And first place, give it up for your champion, the queen, Kayla Romo. Shout out to Justin and MrStav, the MrStav. Amazing. Amazing. Excellent, excellent job. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And I hope you, got a pretty good hold of this lesson. And Robo says this is a pleasant surprise. Yes, I hope that you feel good about this. I hope that you take the time that we're giving you and not piling on a lot more difficult stuff, and that you will use it to get some work done as the time limit is coming up. The end of May, and I can't, after the first week of June, I can't really accept any late work. Okay, so get your work completed. Okay, hand things in. And here's the deal: you need to message me and say, MrStav, please remark this. Please make sure you consider this in my marks. Okay, because I've got 90 students messaging me or doing work, and I can't just check in on every piece of work that I've ever assigned for every student. Okay? So, guys, stay safe. It is beautiful weather, but it does not mean go and hang out in public places. Okay? It does not mean go hang out with your friends again. Okay? Make sure you're social distancing. Make sure you're staying safe. Okay? It's already going to be tricky in September as you start high school. Okay? So, let's not complicate it more by getting another peak rising cases, okay, of COVID. So keep your family safe, keep each other safe, look out for each other. If you have questions, guys, I am here for you as a teacher, but also it's insanity. If you're struggling, if you have any needs, reach out to myself, Mr. McKinnon, Ms. Vijayaratnam, Ms. Oikawa. We are here for you. If you need help, we got you. Okay. Good luck, and I'll send out a remind text if I'm going to add any more for Scatterplots, but keeping it pretty simple for you this week. If you don't like that, too bad. All right. Go enjoy the sun. Peace out, friends. Have a good one. Peace. Goodbye, Aiden. My condolences. You were owning that game the whole way through.